Welcome to the AmeLiaRun channel. My name's AmeLia, and today I will be reviewing the Ning Feidian 5 Ultra. This is a shoe that was graciously gifted to me as a birthday present from my family. They purchased it online from Amazon in my size at 8.5M. Like all of my reviews, I'll be going over the nerdy details for this shoe, as well as discussing fit, predicting the durability, ride, versatility, and value of the shoe. This is made with the hopes of creating an accessible resource to assist runners of all levels of experience in their search for the right fit. All of my reviews are time-stamped for easier reference regardless of where and when buyers are shopping. Getting into nerdy details, the Feidian 5 is a fascinating shoe. It really is. This is, a lot of people call this like the Chinese band shoe because it was making a lot of waves when it first was gaining popularity for shoe influencers. It's a very intriguing shoe. Like, you can see the light coming through how thin that upper is. Starting with the basics, it's 7 ounces. It has a very, very high 40 millimeter to 31 millimeter. So it's like 40 in the heel, 31 in the forefoot for a 9 millimeter drop. A lot of that cushioning there in the midsole area, even though there are some holes there. Very aggressive rocker on this as well. And it feels like there's some of their own kind of little marketing magic they're trying to put in, like a lot of the names of these things. They call it Super Boom foam. It's a PEBA foam, and then it has a full length of carbon plating there. I think they call it like a dual fiber, if I'm not mistaken. And boom fiber is what they call the upper, if I'm not mistaken. That's the kind of like this thin kind of upper. Everything from the rocker to like how the upper is reminds me a lot of the original Saucony Endorphin Elite. So this is varies greatly in price, but typically you'll find it for around $210. There are a couple different options for buying a shoe like this. Like a lot of Chinese shoes, you'll hear both myself and other reviewers probably mention this, but it depends on where you get it and what hoops you're willing to jump through. If you buy through China's kind of, how should I say, Amazon-like counterparts, Taobao, which is incredibly difficult to traverse if you aren't familiar with traversing it. You don't have a friend who can walk you through it, or you can't read Chinese. It can be challenging, but from my understanding, for a lot of folks who are able to get these shipped, they can get them a lot cheaper than like US shoes. You're going to be paying a premium to buy it on AliExpress or Amazon, I've noticed, but at least with Amazon, there's some consistency. I say that with an asterisk. I was hoping that these would be Feidian 6 Ultra. On Amazon, they actually list all the Feidian shoes together. So like when you pick a colorway, it says 5, but it could be 6. You click 6, it could be 5, depending on when you're zipping around doing your different sizes. I can see how this can be confusing for a lot of folks. So I wouldn't be surprised. I thought we were buying a pair of the 6s, and they ended up coming in as 5s. Very embarrassingly, I had a viewer point that out to me when I did the unboxing for the 5s. I'm like, oh, these are the 6s. And I'm like, yeah, those look like 5s. And I'm staring at it, and I'm not kidding. It is like the smallest little hole between where it would make the 5 a 6 on this. I was like, oh, come on, man. The upper on this has kind of like one knit piece. As you know, that's something that I run into some issues when it comes to fit. I will say fit is the biggest issue I have with this shoe. It is a very narrow shoe. Even with changing the laces, it didn't do a whole lot of good for me. Felt like I was really being squeezed in like a tube of toothpaste. Now granted, that's me. I got hobbit feet. I wasn't expecting these to be available in wide sizes, right? So it's thinner material, so if it was only an issue of width, I might have been able to manage a little bit better, but it's got very low volume, and unfortunately because of that, I was feeling very constricted through a lot of my runs. I only got a couple miles in this on both runs I used to try to get a feel for the review. Admittedly, this is probably going to be relegated to either a resale or as like a fashion shoe, because I am unfortunately not going to be able to get a whole lot of miles out of it, but that doesn't mean that I can't project durability or have an overall discussion about how it rode, right? Just with fit, long-term, wasn't going to be something I could do. I will give it this, compared to some other shoes I've ridden in the past that had fit issues, I was able to get a lot out of the shoe, even with some of that discomfort. It didn't feel dangerous. It actually felt relatively accommodating, which is surprising for an aggressive rocker like this. I will just go ahead and just say, as far as projected durability, I think that the rubber outsole on the bottom here, it's definitely it looks kind of misleading. Like, it almost kind of looks like minimalist, but it's been pretty durable. I've been scraping it up a couple times on the pavement and a little bit of gravel, and it looks generally, I would say it'd be probably generally okay, 100, 200 miles at the very least. Don't take my word on that one, though. I'm just projecting durability there. Getting into the ride, versatility, and value for the Feidian 5 Ultra. I will say that the ride is very much like a race shoe. I know people say they use this for everything from easy paces to long miles to race day. I can see that. This reminds me a lot of when I tried on the Saucony Endorphin Elite. I tried those on at a treadmill in a store, and kind of got a lot of the same sensation with this shoe. Definitely is one for those who are looking for a very lightweight carbon fiber shoe. It is a whole lot of shoe, baby. I can tell you that. I mean that in like the sense that it feels like it's really, really well engineered. You take it out and you're flying in this thing. And like, there were a couple times, even those 2 runs I took it out in, even with some general foot discomfort, I was able to kind of speed up to like 8-minute paces. And that's, for me, as a bigger runner, that's about 2 minutes outside of what I usually try to cruise around. So I mean, it's pretty effortless with its how quick it goes onto the gas on that acceleration. But with that said, it does still feel pretty comfortable with the, particularly in the midfoot area. Even with those holes there, like, felt pretty sturdy as far as cushioning. Definitely didn't feel like I was gonna fall out from under it like I was kind of expecting with it, how tight the fit was. I will say that as far as versatility, I think your mileage is going to vary. If you have wider feet, I'm not going to recommend this one. If you need high volume, like you have a high midfoot, I would not recommend this one. However, if you are either narrower footed or you're looking for something that you can use for daily miles, long miles, and a light race day shoe, this might fit your preference there. I will say, this goes into value a bit, same discussion with versatility. It's difficult to ascertain, though, if this is going to be the right shoe for you, because it's pretty extensive, the process to get it. One, if you're buying it on the Taobao, or if you happen to get it through even like Amazon, it's going to take a long time to get there. This one took about 2-3 weeks to get shipped over here, and when you get it, you're like, have a whole lot of options as far as returns. You can pay to return it, but at that point, it's more trouble than it's worth, right? I think it was like $10 to return it. Man. Value. It's an expensive shoe. It is a very expensive shoe. If you were looking for a race-ready shoe, I'd say, that you can use for training, this might be worth considering. I would look around some other influencers, ones that are much more articulate than I am. Like I think like Subwell, even the likes of like Ed Bud. I recommend taking a peek at those to see their thoughts on these shoes. This shoe too, in particular. I like what Ning does. I love the colorways. They're real unique. I'm glad they exist in the running shoe market. I'm testing another one of theirs right now, the Red Hair 9 Ultra. I love that shoe. It is a great shoe. I wish I liked the shoe more, but we'll get there in a second. Getting into final thoughts for the Ning Feidian 5 Ultra. A little disappointed, a little let down by this shoe, but it's not because of the shoe. It's a user issue. Hand up, I'm gonna run into that sometimes with some of these shoes. Just could not get an accommodating enough fit for this, and because of that, a lot of the other stuff suffered. But on paper, this is engineered. Like, I hate to use this word, but it's kind of crazy, like how much they put into this shoe. As far as tech, how much of it is marketing versus how much of it is actually like performance oriented. I want to say it's leaning more towards it being a really good performance oriented shoe. If you like thinner uppers, if you like aggressive rockers, if you like full carbon plates, this is a shoe worth considering. As I mentioned a little bit ago, I do think that it is worth noting that this might be a challenging shoe to just try on, right? You're going to have to try to commit to it. And at $210, I don't know how much I could recommend that for some people. If this shoe, you're reading up on it, you're seeing reviews, you're watching videos, and you're like, that's right up the alley. It's something I want. Hey, I was a big fan of the original CLO, or I was a big fan of the Endorphin Elite. You might just swing on this, but for $210, it is a big swing. So, buyer beware in that regard. With that said, I hope you've all found this review helpful, informative. I make reviews like this weekly. Please consider subscribing. I hope you're all staying healthy and safe.